requirement is a usable representation of a need. So need is what it drives everything, right? A project or any work or anything. So if the business stakeholder has a need, he says, so let's say a login screen, if you are accessing your banking login screen, online banking login screen, so the stakeholder, he doesn't know any technical jargon or any knowledge, right? He says, I need a login page where the user can log in using his username and password. So that is actually a business requirement. That's called a high level business requirement, and it's their need. So they need an application where on the main page the user should be able to log in with provided details. Even he doesn't say username and password also. He'll say with his provided details he should be able to log in. When you take that as a business analyst, you dig deeper into that and ask, so how he should be able to log in? He should be able to log in using username and password. If it is a mobile device, shall we have a fingerprint option there? So these are all questions. Sometimes the business are more knowledgeable, like they'll have all these options in their mind and they'll come to you with them. So even then also, when they tell that, you convert them into usable representation. Usable representation means when you document it, everyone should be able to understand. So you will give a detailed view of each and every feature whatever they are asking. Okay, so it's a usable representation of a need. Need is a problem, opportunity, or constraint with potential value to a stakeholder. So a need can be a problem. It can be some problem he is facing, or an opportunity to improve, or a constraint. There is something stopping him, but with a potential value. If it is solved, there is a value to the stakeholder. Okay. So stakeholder is a person or group with a relation to the need, solution, or a change. So like I said, stakeholder, sometimes you call them stakeholder and sometimes you call them business and sometimes you call them business owners. So whatever you call them, they are the people from business who have relationship to this software product, and they have the requirements or need, or they are the ones who need the change into the organization using this software. So requirements serve as foundation for system and its components. So whatever you want to develop, first you need to have requirements in place, and based on those requirements only, any system and its overall components can be built upon. So who is a stakeholder? So I already defined, like a stakeholder is any person or organization that is actively involved in a project or whose interests are positively or negatively affected by the execution of a project. Okay. So now we come into the types of requirements. So one is business requirement. So if you are developing an application, first you will go to the business and they will give you a high level overview of what they are needing. So you will just write them down into a template where you will have this specific templates in every project, like I said. So for business requirements, you will be writing with them without any technical specifications or anything. So business requirements are like they will be written in the layman's language, like, oh, okay, I want to have the customer log in into the application using the right credentials. So this is a business requirement. Okay, or else I want to access my mini statement from the online application. So what button you are using, how the report is displayed on the screen, what are the columns in that. These are not in the business requirements. Business requirement just specify like an overview of that. As a customer, I want to view my mini statement from the online application. So these are like business requirements. And stakeholder requirements. Stakeholder requirements are the, when a stakeholder just gives his requirement, it will be like, I want an online application for my banking system where the user can log in, access his accounts and do his transactions. That's it. That's a stakeholder. It is too high level, and you as a business analyst should be able to get it, but there is no use for the technical team or any other teams downstreams. So as a BA, you will be documenting it, but from business requirements and functional requirements, your role will be playing more pivotal. So functional requirements are the main requirements which you will be documenting to communicate it to the developers, or taking the sign offs and everything from the business stakeholders before you pass it on to the technical team. So like I said, when a business requirement is like how, as a customer, I want to generate my mini statement on the online application. When this is the business requirement, the functional requirements what you write will be like, I want to show latest 10 transactions, I want to show the date, the merchant place and the amount, I want to show the total at the end of the column. So you want to have three columns. So all these requirements you define in the functional requirements. Get it? Any questions?
All good.
Yeah, okay. And there will be something called non-functional requirements. These will not be documented all the time, but sometimes you need to, like if a website is accessed by public all the time, you will define some requirements like it should accommodate at least 1,000 people simultaneously at the same time, right? So this has nothing to do any requirement or any capability of the system for usage, like customer having to do anything with the system, but these are non-functional requirements wherein you define how the system should behave, but not exactly the business requirements or functional requirements. Okay. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. And transitional requirements, these are mostly optional. You may not be seeing it in your real time, but these are like when you are moving on to an older system to new system, and if you are migrating from a different version to newer version, then you might be having these transitional requirements. So this will not be mm, like you will not be using this like much in your real life. So let's look at the types of stakeholders once. So these are the project stakeholders, the BA, project manager, dev team. So these are all stakeholders who have a vested interest in the project from the software application perspective. So the BA, PM, development team, QA, architects, and SMEs who will be actively participating to resolve your questions and give you requirements. And business stakeholders. These are the business owners, project sponsors, operational team, and also the end users who will be using the application in the end. So those who will be the part of UAT testing and everything. And you have third party stakeholders like external agents. Sometimes you have to adhere to some legal application. If you are working on a insurance application, let's say, you'll have to follow all the insurance regulations provided by the government. Like if you are in US, your US government or state wise, it will have a set of insurance regulations which all the insurance companies should be following to implement their coverages and everything. So auditors similarly, and some public agencies, some environmental agencies might have interest in what kind of application you are using, depending on the application, and those are the third party stakeholders. And there are negative stakeholders as well, like your competitors are the are the hackers who will be looking to break into your system, do some like fraud things into your system. So these kind of people are called negative stakeholders. And yeah, so as a BA, these are the thumb rules you should be following. Allow and bypass tensions. So do not take anything happening in your project personally, because you will be dealing with lot of people. Dev team and QA team, moreover, they'll be sitting with their systems, they'll be dealing more mostly with their softwares and computers. But as a BA, you will be dealing with lot of people on a day to day basis. So all the people will not be same. So some people might be rude, some people might be unresponsive, some people might be, yeah, typical. So just don't take anything personal. It's just a part of your job, and take it as your job responsibility only. And when you are out of the office, leave that aside. And requirements hurried, projects buried. Do not assume anything. Gather the requirements based on what the client is saying. Do not assume anything, and do not hurry. So if you have a deadline, just try to get as much information as possible. And if your required information is not in yet, don't complete the requirements by assuming something and send it for sign off. So requirements hurried, projects buried. If anything goes wrong, you will be blamed in the end, and you will stand in a tight point before everyone. And don't criticize any stakeholder. So the business, mostly this applies to the business stakeholders or SMEs whom you will be talking to gather the requirements. If they tell wrong also, sometimes if you know that there is something, there is, it's not correct, just don't point it out to them directly. Just say that, oh, I referred this manual and I found this, so is it true? Or just point it out diplomatically, and try to maintain a good relationship with all the business stakeholders. Never ever criticize them, and never say no to the client. So if any client comes with a requirement, even if you know that it is not achievable or not implementable, just tell them that I'll go and check with the technical team for feasibility on implementing this, or I have to analyze it. Tell some diplomatic answer, and do not say no to the client. Just come back on a later day and show them the implications of what will happen if they have to do that. If it will cost more or if it breaks something, just come with the proofs and tell them. And there is no word called default. So do not ever promise them saying that by default you will get this, by default you will get that. So if they say something, this field needs to be here and this message needs to be here, don't say that, yeah, we can do it by default. You say that, okay, I will document that, and my technical team has to check it, and the system architect or the dev lead will check it if there is any complication whatsoever involved in that. So any questions?
I just want to clarify the last part about by default. Um,
Oh,
are you saying that we don't have, we should not assume anything? Like we should ask specifically every single thing to the client?
Yeah, so do not say anything there is by default. So yeah, by default you will get this and by default you will get that. So don't promise anything to the client. Whatever he asks, just tell that yeah, it might be doable, but I have to check with my technical team or I have to analyze it and get back to you.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, good till now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, any questions so far? I wanted to start the SDLC models, but I think we have only 5 6 minutes left, so it may not be enough. So, the next class will go through the organizational structure, like what a client organization and IT organization looks like, hierarchy levels of the people, and then move on to the software life cycle, software development life cycle, all the different models like waterfall model, iterative, and spiral v model. So all these are, most of them are non-existent now or maybe used very rarely. Most of the projects now are going agile, so we have to put a more emphasis on agile methodology than anything else. But for information sake, I just want to give you an overview of all the other software lifecycle models as well, and then put more emphasis on agile methodology, how you work in an agile methodology, what are followed in that, and we'll see them in the next session. And I would like to give you an assignment if you can do